Okay, so you're welcome back. Now, in this video, we want to be talking about the basic bodies analysis. Now, we want to do our best to try to analyze the structure of the female bodies. Now, for instance, in the previous video, our measurement video, I showed you that this person's bust, round bust circumference, measures about 38 inches. Now, for basically most persons, when they want to use this bust measurement to make their draft, they simply divide the measurement by 4. Now 38 divided by 4 will give them 9.5, and then they add their sewing allowance. Now what they are doing by that is they are sharing both the front bust and the back bust equally, which is actually not so. Now I'm going to be showing you this, that if you actually want to do the right thing, the front section of a busty lady is bigger than the back when you're talking about the bust area. Now, she's putting on a shirt here that has a side seam. Her total bust is 38, right? Or let's go for a fitted measurement here. Okay, let's go for 37. Now, 37 divided by 2 would give you 18.5, which is basically what most persons do. But the truth is, if you actually measure from this side seam across the bust to this side seam, you're going to realize that the front part, of course, is going to be bigger than the back. Now, what I have here for the front is 20 inches. Now, 20 out of 37 is giving you just 17 inches behind. Behind on the bust area, it is simply 17 inches. That is what we have here. And that is the correct way you are supposed to share the bust measurement for a lady. Now, we know that sometimes it might not be convenient for you to be able to lift up the person's arm and measure this way to know what should be your front bust and your back bust. So I'm going to be giving you a formula for that. I created a formula for that will help you anytime you want to do that. We also know that sometimes you will be sent measurement, right? So you might not have the opportunity to do this on the person, right? We'll also give you a formula that will help you in such cases, right? So one thing you should know is, when sharing the bust measurement for a lady, a busty lady, you have to know that your front bust will be bigger than the back bust. Now, if you're talking about for a man like me, like this shirt now, the front bust area and the back one, the chest area, they are all the same, right? But you cannot do that for a lady when you are making a fitted garment for her, except if you're making something like this for her, right? So in our subsequent video, you will see that I do not share my bust measurement equally, and that is the correct thing to do. Another thing I want to let you know, we talked it before in the previous video, is that the front half length, when I mean half length, I mean the shoulder to waist. Shoulder to waist. The front half length of a lady, an adult that has a bust, will never be the same with that of the back. And that is another place most tailors get it wrong. They simply cut their front half length and they use it to cut the back, which is not correct. By so doing, if you make a peplum top, you will realize that on the waist area, your peplum will be high at the front and low behind. Let me give you an example. Let's take a look at the front half length. The front half length for this person in this case, let's go for 16, where this ribbon is tied here. If you try to measure from this same point here and check your 16, you will find out that it is way lower than where the ribbon is, about 2 inches in this case, right? So if you go and make a basic top, let's say a peplum top for such person, and you use the same half length for front and back, let's say 16, Your peplum will be at this level at the front, whereas will be at this level behind, low, almost at the main natural waist here, right? So those are mistakes most people do and will be correcting in the subsequent video. You should know that first, your front bust and the back bust are not the same. So stop sharing your bust measurement by 4. We are going to show you how to do that. We'll give you a formula that works all the time for that. Again, when you're making a fitted bodice, do not make your front and back half length the same. Also, we are going to be showing you how to deal with that, except if you're dealing with a baby. If it's a girl child that doesn't have bust yet, yes, you are free to share your bust measurement equally. You are also free to use the same half length for front and back. But when you're talking about a busty person, depending on how busty the person is, you are going to reduce some inches away from the back half length. Now, for instance, I have this dress form here. Now, this dress form is not as busty as this my person here, right? So if you consider the front and back half length in this case, the difference might not be up to 2 inches. It might be up to about 1 inch or 1.5. I know fully well that it's not going to be up to 2. So let's check this and see. We have to this ribbon here, you can see the red ribbon here. To this ribbon here, we have it at, let's check the base of the ribbon, that's about 16.5. And if I take from that same point going towards the back here, we have it at 15.5. You see, so the difference between the front half length and the back half length for this person is just 1 inch, and that is because she is not very busty as this other person. So the ideal thing to do, you can see my ribbon here, you can see my elastic here. The ideal thing to do is that if you are taking a measurement for anybody, you are to tie a ribbon or an elastic around the person's waist, so that you'll be able to take your front half length and your back half length and know the difference between the two, so that you apply them on your draft. But in a case where you are sent a measurement or you forgot to take the 2 different half lengths, then we'll give you some averages to use, right? For instance, now, as you can see, for this small busted person here, the difference is just 1 inch. For somebody a little bit bustier than this, the difference will rise up to 1.5. And for somebody this busty, we have it at about 2 inches, right? Somebody bustier than this person here, we can have it at 2.5, and some extreme cases we have it up to 3.5, right? But on an average, for most persons, we use the difference 2 inches or 1.5, right? So those are the things I want you to know when you are analyzing your basic bodies for a female. The same thing happens to the waist. The waist region here that has the tummy. You are not to share your waist measurement for front and back the same. Why? Because at this point, the waist is fuller at the front than the back. As a matter of fact, your back has a depression inside, whereas that is your back waist, whereas the waist at the front here, around the navel here, has a protruding effect because of the tummy, right? So let's take, for instance, this waist of 31 we have here, right? Now, if you want to share it equally, 31 divided by 2 is going to give you 15.5 and another 15.5 for the front. But that is not what I'm going to be using if I'm making a draft for this person. The waist of 31 will give you a formula on how to divide it, that you are going to allocate a small addition to the front while you subtract the same amount from the back. We are going to give you all of those formula when we come to drafting. Also, the same thing happens to the hip. When we come to skirt making, I'm going to show you that we have a hip of 41 here. Now, on a norm, they will simply divide this by 2 or divide by 4. If you are dividing this by 2, it simply means you are giving 20.5 to the front and the same 20.5 to the back. Whereas you can clearly see that at her on her hip region here, you can clearly see that the back hip is bigger than the front. Now, what do I have here? I have about 23 inches here from the side seam of this jean here to this side seam here. Along the hip, I have about 23 inches or so. 23 inches, right? So if you subtract that from 41, you realize that it is not up to another 23, right? So the ideal thing for you to do is to allocate the hip measurement proportionally. Also, we are going to be giving you a formula for that, right? So thanks for watching. My name is Legendary.